guys, this is Doug. Welcome back to What's the Hazard? It is Friday, March 11th, and I know this because my son Kent, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Kent.
Right on. How old?
Kent is 24. He lives out west somewhere.
Still on insurance.
Still on my insurance, of course, and my phone, and my and car insurance, and all those other things. But he's trying, man. I give him credit. He's trying. So happy birthday, Kent. My buddy Aaron Cerrone is here, as always, once a month. He comes in to straighten us out on leadership and similar topics.
At least provide some levity to the program.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we need a little levity here, man. And we've got a guest today. I'll let you do the introductions.
Me? Okay.
If you would.
No, okay. I brought Katrina Bishop, my friend, who is the anxiety expert in Omaha, Nebraska.
Very good.
Hypnotherapist by trade, and helps people deal with anxiety and various issues surrounding anxiety. So I thought it would be something fun to talk
that is
about.
Really good.
Anxiety in the workplace and various ways that can affect us.
Hi, Katrina.
Yeah, hi. Thanks
it's a pleasure
for having
to meet you.
Yeah,
it's wonderful to have you. I think this is such an interesting topic. We were talking briefly about it at breakfast this morning, and then I said, stop talking, because I love the spontaneity of the conversation.
Plus, we probably needed a female on here, too, to balance it out.
Yeah. I bring in a lot of...
That's why you put me in the middle.
No disrespect to my guests, but this is the best-looking crowd I've had on my...
Am I going to become a regular now?
Yeah, you could be a regular, absolutely.
The softer
I think the viewers would appreciate that, definitely. No, you two are like poster model type people and stuff. So thanks for being here. This is the camera here. You can look at the audience occasionally if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. Just don't tap on the table. That's the only rule. I had my buddies from OSHA on last week, and damn if Ian didn't tap on the table the whole time. Why is maybe you can? Is that something
Nervous
that we can address with hypnosis, perhaps?
Nervous energy, tapping the fingers, tapping the toes.
Is that?
Oh
yes.
yeah.
It is a cue, or what would you? Is it a symptom of?
It's a coping mechanism.
It's a self-soothing.
Okay.
You know,
I just white knuckle underneath the table.
I was going to say that's kind of what I'm doing too. I'm just
yeah. You know, and I'll ask my clients, like, where do you feel that in your body? Like, where do you think you store that energy or notice it first? And some they'll say it's in their fingertips. They'll either tap, they'll pick, they'll chew, they'll tap their toe.
So
they'll feel
like
real restless.
nail biting is similar.
It's very common, or picking the skin around your nails.
What about just random banging your head against the wall? Is that...
That's more of a temper tantrum, I think, which we can get into the similarities of that chemically in the brain. But yeah, I think you're just throwing a temper tantrum
often
when you do that. Yeah.
Well, you know, so our show is about workplace safety primarily, but not exclusively. And we've added leadership, which is such a big part of what we do and oftentimes neglected. And the whole stress thing, I think, is really interesting because of we talk about in workplace safety and health, we talk about some of these mindsets that lead to critical errors. And so fatigue, frustration, rushing, complacency, all these different mindsets that will lead, unfortunately, to these critical errors that we're trying to avoid.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about stress, just in general. What is it? And maybe what you do to try to help your clients and how would that apply to the workplace?
Yeah, well, we bring in to any workplace, our stresses, our anxieties, and we carry them with us everywhere we go. So, it does affect our job performance. It can affect safety for sure. And stress is just the result usually of, anxious thinking, what you're experiencing in daily life. Stress is kind of that tension we hold in our body. Anxiety is just like an overwhelming worry, fear, stress that, when it becomes chronic, then it actually can become a disorder where the worry, the stress, the fear are now affecting your daily life, like your job, your family, things that you used to be able to do with no problem now become very difficult.
So there is a distinction between stress and anxiety.
Yes.
You're making that distinction.
Yeah. So stress, worry, fear kind of all lump into a lot of the anxiety disorders.
Interesting. Okay.
Because we are going to have a certain amount of daily life stress, whether it's physical body stress or mental emotional stress. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that we.
Do you need a little bit of stress? I mean, you probably need a little bit of stress, don't you? I mean,
I think it's unavoidable that life is gonna throw us some curveballs.
I mean, you could take the approach: stress elicits change, positive and negative. Mm-hmm. Like you lift weights, that's a stress on your body as well. Like you put the whole mantra: be uncomfortable, if you want to grow as a person, that's all stress.
Yeah.
I think one thing you said that was key was, we take things with us, and we talk a lot about leadership and understanding that, hey, someone who might be performing bad, it's not just, they're being lazy or they're screwing up. It could be something they're bringing in with from their private life that we're not keyed into.
Yeah, I've talked to other business owners, or had clients, and they've said stories too about, someone just wasn't performing. They advanced them into roles that they had groomed them for, and then all of a sudden, and then they, have discussions with them and find out, maybe, things at home aren't going so well. Maybe there's a sick family member that they just hadn't shared, and then it kind of puts it into a bigger perspective. But yeah, we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. So to Aaron's point, these things do affect job performance, but we don't always share them with people around us or our coworkers.
And the businesses that I deal with typically would be manufacturing, construction. I don't deal with IT people. I don't deal with desk people typically in my consulting work. And those tend to be, I don't mean to overgeneralize, but they tend to be guys and gals that don't share a lot of that stuff. Is that a reasonable statement, or is that naive?
No, that's a reasonable statement. And, manufacturing, it's hard work. And oftentimes they're putting in, 60 to 70 hours and sometimes forced overtime. And I think they have one of the highest divorce rates too, just because of the stress it puts on the marriages and the families. So, but you're not really sharing that with your coworkers. None of us, typically forthrightly just want to share that, because one of the brain's primary jobs is to, save you from pain, discomfort, and that also includes embarrassment. So we don't automatically just want to put ourselves out there if we think we'll be judged, ridiculed. Right. There's going to be a level of embarrassment. I find the brain really fascinating when you start to learn about its job. And the number one job of the brain is safety and survival. So it's kind of that instinctual brain. We're always trying to, are we safe? The second job is that it wants to save us from discomfort, embarrassment, pain, shame, guilt, all of that. And the third primary function is to conserve energy, which this one I find really fascinating, because it's not just physical energy, but it's learning something new. So we get into these habits. We can even get into stress habits or anxiety habits. They're all just programs that when we've done these, things long enough, the neural pathway becomes stronger in the brain. So now it just becomes second nature. And
which is an energy conservation tool, right? A habit.
Yes. So the brain would rather keep you the same, even if it's something detrimental to your health or mental well-being, than it would be to learn a new skill or hobby or habit. So people often just think they don't have enough willpower, or they're just, there's something lacking. They can't be that person that they would like to be. But it's really because the brain is just really resistant to it. It knows how to be an anxious thinker, or it knows how to be stressed out, or it knows how to be, an Olympic bodybuilder. Whatever it knows how, it just wants to keep doing that. So when you introduce something new, automatically you're going to have resistance to it.
Wow. So this has an impact on the training that we're giving to our employees, and the challenges with training, which are something that we do in my profession a lot, but struggle with.
Yeah.
We don't do it particularly well, and there is an inherent biological resistance to sometimes to these changes that we're asking our employees to.
Absolutely, because beliefs drive behavior. So, whatever that person's mindset is, or their beliefs, which all, have to do with their life's experiences, kind of just shape how we even see information.
I've seen that quote before, beliefs drive behavior. That's an interesting comment, because whether or not you believe something can be possible, certainly has an impact on that outcome.
Yeah. And, our behavior, we'd rather stay in that comfort zone because it feels familiar than we would to drive our behavior towards seeking change that benefits us. So it's kind of, the brain is a fascinating thing, but once you start to kind of understand it, then you can start, putting something together that's really going to get people to their goals or the desired change. But most people quit before they get there. I think they say 8% of New Year's resolutions actually make it to completion. I mean, it's that low.
I think that's probably high.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah,
you're the resolution guy. Everybody comes to you with a resolution.
It's probably high. But it's interesting you say that. I wonder how many, Doug, on the safety side, how often, the safety expert or the leaders of the company will see somebody, someone who's been working for you for years, been that stout person, reliable, just starts making mistakes out of the blue, or has an accident out of the blue, like, wow, so unlike Doug to fall off the ladder. And then you just write it off as, it's just a one-time accident, but there's probably something going on beyond that, and we don't even think to ask, hey, how's everything going?
Absolutely.
We say, hey, anybody get hurt? All right, keep going.
Well, I was just talking with somebody about incident investigations and trying to find those causal factors, what led to that incident occurring. And we're focused in on the employee doing something wrong,
superficial,
an unsafe behavior or something.
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever dig into that level of depth, that there might have been some issue, some stress or anxiety creating issue that actually contributed to this. I mean, that just seems like, usually I'm like, the employee's an idiot. He stuck his head where it didn't belong. And I coach the employee not to stick his head there anymore.
Which is all true to a degree, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
Right. So do you consult with businesses, or you have you own your own business?
Yeah, I have a private, hypnotherapy office. I do life coaching and NLP too. So I've had business owners as clients.
NLPT?
NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
NLP, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. And it's quick brain retraining exercises that can help people regain control of like racing thoughts or panic attacks, within seconds, so that they can get control over their body and control over their thoughts. So it's been around for a long time.
How would somebody in Doug's position or mine, as as leaders in a company, let's say there's an accident, and usually the initial investigation is superficial. Was the ladder broke? Did they follow the checklist? But how do you, if I'm going to interview, let's say the employee, what's the best approach to get to that next layer that Doug says we're not really getting to? It's like, how do I go about, hey, is everything okay at home? Like, that's coming up pretty punch in the mouth, like, everything okay at home? Like, well, what do you mean, man? To your point, they're not going to share probably anyway.
No, and most of the time we just tell people what they want to hear, especially if it's an uncomfortable topic. But I mean, obviously you have to do those investigations, you have to have those causes. But I think there was a book called The Coaching Habit. I actually think maybe you gave it to me, but there was a great question in there. It's like, getting to what's the real issue here, because motivational interviewing techniques, which are great, ability to question someone and get to kind of like, okay, but I hear what you're saying, but, what was the real issue here? Or, what was the mindset going into your work day? Because mindset, I tell you, has a lot to do with it. When we talk about goals, and, every company has goals for safety. They have measurements and things that they have to meet. But rarely goals are usually something other people want for you. That's what your company wants for you. That's what your spouse wants for you. That's what your trainer at the gym wants for you. So understanding the difference between a goal and a commitment, I think, is huge. Because if you're committed to showing up every day, and upholding the safety or upholding the work culture or the mindset, that's something people can get passionate about together. But goals usually don't inspire people to inspired action. They're usually just, something that is either imposed on them or they think they should do for themselves.
Oh, that is really good. And I have been waiting for you to come along for a long time. and I mean that somewhat figuratively.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't mean to overstep here, but this mind component and what you're describing has been the obstacle to what we as safety professionals have been trying to achieve for as long as I've been doing this for 35 years. And we have always attempted through these weird metrics and goals to force something on our employees. Work safely is a command, and if there's no commitment there on the part of the employee for whatever reason,
Right. If there isn't a why attached, and, you know, and the why could be, we want you to get home safely to your family. The why could be, we want you to enjoy, you know, your hobbies and your interest, you know, it's what motivates people. And yeah, like you said, typically those kind of instructions, here's what we're expecting you to do, although it is part of your job requirement, doesn't really motivate people.
It's interesting because I was driving to Hastings a couple days ago, and I was thinking about, you know, this whole what can we do to motivate or drive employees to work more safely? What is it that we can tap into that might get them to focus on working more safely? And I know a few places that I've been have taken pictures of the employees' families and put them up over the entrance into the work environment. Or I've seen construction guys that have had pictures of their family in their hard hat or something like that, and they may periodically refer them to that. I mean, you walk by that every morning when you go into the shop, or when you're putting your hard hat on, you see your children. And then I ask myself, do I think about my boys before I work or before I undertake an activity? I'm not sure that I do. I mean, I probably go to work because of my boys. I want to earn a living because I want to provide for them, but I'm not sure that I work safely because of them. I don't know, maybe subconsciously to some extent. I'm interested in that motivation piece, or how we get people to get beyond just, here's the goal.
Yeah, because, you know,
work on that stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to, you know, find each and every person's why, but, you know, a company's culture, which, you know, it has a big impact on, you know, how you show up for work, you know, why you want to show up for work. It's the narrative too that you create in your own head, that your own story. Like, if you constantly wake up every day and you kind of just dread going to work, I mean, you bring that with you, and it only takes a couple people in a culture, you know, to kind of be cancerous. If you've ever experienced that, when you go in, you can kind of sense that. But yeah, I think, you know, a person's mindset has so much to do with, you know, how they perform, you know, how the people around them perform. And so, you know, I think a lot of it is just helping people understand the effects of stress, the effects of anxiety, you know, a healthy life, which includes, you know, how they eat and exercise. But I don't know a lot of big companies that probably have mindfulness, you know, throughout the day, or have taught people, you know, how to breathe to calm down, or how.
I totally agree. And you mentioned something, wellness. Wellness used to be a really big deal. I remember, you know, 10 years ago, everybody had this wellness program, you know, and at the company where I worked, it's been 30 years ago, 25 years ago, we had a wellness program where we would record, I walked a mile today, check, I walked here, and I got a koozie or something if I, you know, got 20 points on my wellness. I don't think, are we really hitting the right things? I mean, this is your world too. Both of you guys are kind of in the stress relief, anxiety relief, wellness industries.
Yeah, I mean,
are we doing it right?
There's always a buzzword of the moment, especially in corporate. Mindfulness is probably the buzzword right now. Mindfulness and awareness, however you want to say it. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to culture. Are you looking out for your people? Are people looking out for each other? Are they looking out for themselves? That type of approach, and giving them the tools to do that. I think it's different in every industry. Like, it's tough if you're on a road crew or you're on a construction crew. Obviously it's important, but what's a wellness program look like on a construction crew? Like, it's not like there's an on-site gym, or there's there's an on-site HR person they can go talk to, or anything like that. So, you know, the environment, I think, dictates a lot on how those things are executed, and they can quickly get forgotten about if you're not careful. Is it one of those things where it's maybe the foreman needs to walk around and check in with everybody every day? That's part of the wellness program. Yeah, absolutely. That's important. It just looks different than it would like in a corporate environment, where they could have a place, they could have a safe room to go to, or they could have an HR person to talk to, type of deal, where it's more readily available. So, and it's one of those things where I keep thinking back to how would you peel back that onion if an accident happens, and it was really something that started at home that caused that accident. And I think it's one of those things where if you're the foreman on a site or you're the manager on that shop floor, if you are checking in with people and talking to them on the regular, you should be able to pick up on those things. Like when Doug hits the door, I can see something's off. Or he's been off the last couple of days. It's not surprising he tripped and fell. Right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And to me, that's part of if you think of wellness in a holistic approach, that's all part of it. If you're checking in and talking with people and you're staying in tune to everybody in the company and especially under your immediate supervision, you are looking out for their wellness in that respect.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you have a good supervisor, you have, typically their lines perform better. Like the people they want to do good work for that person because it's a lot about how you make people feel, and I know
it's just
that
paying attention. Like at the gym,
but like
I can tell when one of the coaches, at the second they hit the door, I can tell if they're off. Just the way they carry themselves, their demeanor, how they talk, when you say hey to them, how they respond, like, okay, something's off today.
So would you call that a mindset issue? Is that a mindset thing?
Yeah, it's a mindset issue. And, our thoughts are energy. So they're cellular energy in your body. So whatever thought that you have in your head at any given moment is going to drive your emotions, your feelings, and then it's going to drive your behavior and action. It's like this big circle. That your behavior and action will always mirror the largest thought or belief you have about yourself at that given moment. So that cellular energy that our thoughts put off, actually, you could feel someone walking up behind you, right? You don't have to see them to know. You can start to feel that they're there. So you carry that energy with you everywhere you go. So, I mean, it can be felt. Like Aaron said, as coaches come in, if they're having a bad day, you can sense it right away on someone without even asking the question. And again, the positive energy, that positive force you bring with you, some of those same coaches at his gym, like their classes will have double the amount of students because they just like the way that coach's, energy is. It's always positive.
You hear the term infectious energy.
Yeah. But it really is a true thing. Like you can even, you can, I teach this with my little kids that come in. It's just like your thoughts are energy, and so we'll have them think a negative thought. And, I don't know if you've seen that arm test where you have them hold their arm out and you have someone, and then you press down on it, that arm will just drop. You have them think a positive thought for themselves, and they'll notice just how much stronger their body is. And so it's just a great way to show them visually, because most people are visual learners, visual and then kinesthetic, the act of doing it or watching it being done. So, they're just shocked to realize, what you're thinking plays such a big role in how you carry yourself, how you perform, for sure, and even in your physical health. If we have a lot of, negative beliefs about ourselves, worries or fears, think about how many people have stomach issues, migraines, carry that stress in their back or their neck. They're always complaining about, that energy settles in your body as well. And obviously can hurt performance too at work or outside of work. So it really comes down a lot to mindset and what a person is thinking, because it always drives behavior.
In your practice then, are you working on tools for establishing mindset or correcting mindset?
Yeah, absolutely.
And are there things that we can do as employers that might benefit our employees' mindsets?
Yeah, so I have a 3 kind of step process in every client session. And the first is always goal setting. Where do they want to be in life, whether it's their career, family, relationships, and you'd be so surprised. People are so used to telling you what they don't want. They can make a huge list because we're just so trained to think negatively, and sometimes it's in our upbringing, it's, sometimes in our environments, but they have a really hard time at first just being able to say, here's what I'd like, so I always say, if I could have a magic wand and change anything for you, what would you like your life to look like? And we kind of get into that. And then we kind of bring up some of the obstacles. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's panic attacks, maybe there's some trauma. but it's really goal oriented. And that's what I love about it, you know.
Yeah.
And then we teach those NLP exercises that help, you know, retrain new neural pathways in your brain. Because we know in the brain, if you don't use it, it'll start to fade away. But you can build new neural pathway highways in your brain, which would be like building a new habit or a belief system. So we do those, and then we reinforce that with hypnosis, or what we call, you know, mental movies. Mm-hmm. It's just a relaxed state where the brain thinks what you're envisioning happening for your life is real. It doesn't know the difference between this isn't real yet and this is real, because the racing, questioning mind is quiet. So just like when you watch a movie and the movie makes you feel sad or it makes you feel scared, your brain isn't going, hey, wait a minute, this is a movie, don't have any emotion. You are just having the emotion. And so it's the same way when you get into those brainwave states of meditation or trance like hypnosis, and I have a client think of them at their very best, you know, and we build up all of those things they said they wanted to feel or they wanted to achieve, moving easily past any obstacle, you know, like with public speaking, for example, you know, just we kind of run it through what it would be like to stand in front of someone and deliver your message and, you know, do it perfectly with so much confidence. The brain thinks that's real. So it's kind of like that mental rehearsal.
Is this like similar to visualization to some degree?
Yeah. So it becomes in the subconscious immediate. So therefore, you know, it happens more immediately for them. They don't, because they've mentally rehearsed it. But again, the brain doesn't know that that wasn't real. So we always reinforce every session with that visualization, that mental movie. Works great with athletes, lots of professional athletes, especially golf. We'll have a hypnotist or a mind coach, whatever you want to call it. Hypnosis kind of has a voodoo-y type of association, especially here in the Midwest, that they think it's mind control. That I have magic powers, that I can instantly make you, lose weight, stop smoking, which, I mean, it does work for that, but the person has to want the change.
Yeah.
They have to want it.
Okay.
In order for it to happen.
I mean, we talk about industrial athletes from a standpoint, when we talk about ergonomics or other types of physical stressors, and we refer to our people, our employees as industrial athletes, they could benefit from positive visualization, I would assume, as well. Could they not?
Oh, yeah, everybody could benefit from it. I go in and speak to his college students in one of his business classes. I spoke to an AP Psych class yesterday in a high school, and they all wanted to experience the relaxation exercise. And just when people get done with building up the positives within themselves, all their natural abilities, their natural resources kind of amplified, I mean, everyone just walks out of my office with like a smile on their face. It's just...
Can you do this to a group? Can you do this in a group setting?
Yeah.
So can you do this for some of my clients?
Yeah.
If they were to assemble employees, you could go in there.
Yeah, I have a couple coming up this month too, where they're doing kind of an employee appreciation, and they have different workshops throughout the day. And so I'm going to come in and do like a mindfulness relaxation exercise where we'll, build up the confidence and motivation and self-assurance, and so people can experience it for themselves, and then they can see the benefit of it. They say like 10 minutes of meditation is to the brain like an hour worth of sleep because of the type of brainwave state you're in. So it's also just feels great.
Have you done this with him yet? You put him through some kind of like mindfulness?
She's tried.
A couple times. He's a pretty resistant client. Yeah, like I said, you got to want it.
Can't you hypnotize him and make him make chicken noises or something?
If you've ever seen the comedy, show with the hypnotist, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that is mind control, right?
Yes.
Because that person normally, if you knew them, they wouldn't be up there dancing like a chicken. And the thing is that in that hypnotic state, you are not afraid of failure. The questioning mind is silent. You have no fear of failing at something. You have no fear of being judged by anyone. So if you make a suggestion that you're going to be a dancing chicken, and it doesn't go against your moral code or your beliefs, you'll do it to the best of your ability because you just simply are not afraid of failing at it.
Interesting.
But if I told you, we're going to go rob the bank and that's against your moral beliefs, you would instantly just look at me and go, okay, what? That's not why I'm here. I'm here to reduce my stress and anxiety. You know, of course I wouldn't do that, but you would instantly refuse that.
But you would refuse something like that, or you would do it, and then we would know something more about you, perhaps.
Or maybe you really, you would be a dancing chicken, but
what about the mindfulness meditation type things? Can you describe that just a little bit?
Yes.
Because I do hear it all the time. Aaron mentioned this is kind of a buzzword right now. And to be perfectly transparent, I have a mindfulness book sitting on my stack of books next to my chair. I have all these books usually that I'm interested in reading that I never get to. One of them is about mindfulness. And if you could summarize that for me so I don't have to read the book.
Talk
a little bit about what that is. Or how can we do it? I mean, why couldn't we have our employees engage in something like this for just a few minutes at the start of every shift?
Absolutely.
And get their mind right.
Get their mindset right. So the average human brain has 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Can you believe that?
Not mine.
It is. It's a lot. Are you saying you're higher or lower?
50 to 70, maybe. 50 to 70,000, unlikely. But I did not know that.
Yeah, and at any given time, a brain is tracking 7 bits of information. So when something comes into your awareness, then it searches your subconscious for resources that match. And your subconscious is like your behaviors, your emotions, your habits. It's all the stuff below the surface you're not aware of until it comes like flooding up. And so our bodies have 2 different types of nervous systems. And I'll get to this, why it matters for the mindfulness. Your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, you probably heard of both of these. And the sympathetic, when it's triggered, and that could be by an actual fear or an actual threat to your safety, or it could be a perceived one. So with anxiety, you have a lot of racing thoughts, typically about the future or worries or fears. But again, the brain and body work together, and they think that there's an actual perceived threat. So it switches on that sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze, and they've now added faint. So when you're constantly, taking in 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, you can easily switch on that system, of stress, of that reactionary, where you're just not in what you call your wise mind or your mindful mind. The fastest way to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming you, is to breathe. 6 deep breaths will stimulate the vagus nerve that goes from the back of your brainstem into your abdomen. It's the fastest way to gain control of your thoughts. And not just breathing, but mindful breathing. So turn all of your thoughts just towards your air and like following air in through your nose and like you're blowing out through a straw. That's the fastest way. 6 deep breaths.
I do this all the time. I didn't even
turn on. That's what turns on the calming system the quickest. Because I tell my clients with anxiety and stress or panic attacks, you can't use more thinking to calm down irrational thoughts or feelings or just get out of that sympathetic nervous system, because it's a neurochemical reaction in the brain. Is when you have a thought and our brain filters these thoughts out, only 10% get through. And it instantly gets an emotion attached to it from your past beliefs, and conditioning. So that emotion comes, then the feeling comes, which is a neurochemical that matches the emotion. So it's actually in your bloodstream. And so you can't talk yourself out of it. So you have to use your body to calm your mind.
But so when you do this vagus nerve activity, when you're doing these breathings in through the nose, these deep breath, I was trained to hold it a little bit, and then you blow out through the straw really slowly, so that the exhalation almost takes longer than the inhalation phase.
Yeah, think of it like 5 by 5 by 10. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 10. And then another great, add on to that is think of a calming color, and then notice in your body like where you're holding that stress or that tension. And then breathe that color into that part of your body. So if you're really visual, it works great too. Like if you're constantly holding it in your chest, and a lot of us hold our breath and we don't even realize it when we're thinking or we're nervous, but blowing that color and just seeing it expand in your lungs, exhaling out the color adds just a whole. How do you know what a
calming color is? Is it just your own
It's whatever
personal?
You want it to be for you. Yeah.
Those are your chakras.
Nope. It's just whatever color you think would be soothing.
Because I know they paint prisons a certain color that is a calming color to try to keep inmates from too much violent activity.
Yeah.
I don't know what color that is, not having been in prison.
I haven't either, but I say it's whatever you want it to be. A lot of my clients choose blue, like light blue.
Okay.
I mean, like that's probably the most common.
Okay.
Usually if they give the anxiety or the negative feeling a color, it's usually red or black or brown or kind of dark, but it really is whatever that person wants it to be. But again, it's just having the mind focus on something else. You know, if the calming color for them is blue, they might think about an ocean or the blue sky. You know, then they're breathing it into their body. So they're adding some different layers to even the breathing. And anytime too, like if you notice yourself becoming stressed, start to kind of to create some space for a minute and even ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, like where would I rate my stress or where would I rate my anxiety today? And so then when you do the breathing exercise and you check back in, generally, if you were like an 8 stressed out and you just did 30 seconds of breathing, usually you check back in and you're like, oh, I'm a 3 or 4. Like this is you're proving to your conscious thinking, this is getting better, not worse.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, all of those little things can help shape mindset and behavior.
And these are things that
training.
It seems like this would be simple to do at the start of a work shift or something like that. So we could get our employees kind of into this positive mindset, or at least move them toward that before we start the day or whatever. I mean,
maybe part of the daily stand-ups we always talk about.
Yeah.
In the beginning of shift. And I would even go so far as to do it again twice a day, like random breaks in which everybody's
maybe when you come back from lunch, or
everybody's checking
condition them when the bell goes off.
Yes.
And
then they breathe.
And the other thing too is to a lot of times, you know, by law, depending on the length of the day, you have to give, you know, half-hour lunch, 15-minute break, 10-minute break. But very rarely will employees actually take those.
It's true.
So they'll just keep working.
Oftentimes they'll work through them.
They'll work through it, work through lunch. They'll just keep going because they don't want to come off the clock, or they just want to get the work done and get out of there. So I think it's very important as well is to force those breaks, if nothing else, just to give a reset. And you don't necessarily have to gather everybody around, but if you just say, all right, everybody, we're taking 10, go outside, walk around a little bit, and that just kind of resets everything. Then they come back in like recess. And then get back to work. And that a lot of times that just the break in the monotony of the work will reset your mind and okay, I'm back at it again.
I love that too. And I used to love recess. And I think there's value in recess.
100%.
Like even for a workforce.
Well, if you think about
Absolutely.
if everything is energy related, right? So if you do have negative thoughts and that is energy, one of the best ways to get rid of that is to exercise. It's just like a dog. Like if you don't exercise a dog, that energy will manifest somewhere else, and it's usually tearing up your shoe or tearing up your house, right? The dog's trying to get rid of that excess energy. We as humans will stuff that into emotion or whatever, and then just compartmentalize it and put it away, and then it just rears its head down the road somewhere else. So, you know, while I agree 1,000%, taking time and breathing and just centering your mind and resetting yourself, but just getting outside and walking around a little bit, just to move that energy out and reset yourself. A lot of times it's just something that simple. We'll just, okay, snap out of it. Got that thought, it's gone. That's okay, I'm refreshed, got some fresh air. Let's go back in and get back to work.
Yeah, the Chinese believe, you know, that anxiety, you know, stress, it's all stored energy that has nowhere to go. It's like thoughts that you haven't resolved, feelings that you haven't resolved, that just you're basically, like Aaron said, stuffing down in your body and pushing down. And anytime you can break that state, when you get into the anxious thinking or racing thinking or stressful thinking, like he said, besides breathing, like anything that you could do different, and that could just be 5 jumping jacks. It could be going out and taking a walk. It could be splashing cold water. There's even, you know, research to say biting on a lemon, you know, will shock the body and you can get out of a panic attack. You know, there's a lot of different ways, but really it comes down to once the neural pathway gets fired, you know, it knows how to have a panic attack. It knows how to be anxious. It knows how to have these behaviors. So as quickly as you can do something different that would make your brain have to use different parts of the brain, then the neural pathway can't operate the same way. That's why exercise is great, because when you bilaterally stimulate both hemispheres of your brain and they're passing information back and forth, whether you're running or kicking or, it's great for the brain. Because, when I'm at the gym and if I'm doing like that Muay Thai class at Aaron's gym, like I can't be thinking anxious thoughts. I've got to be thinking about the punch combination or holding pads for someone, or I'm going to get, punched in the face. I can't be anxious during those moments.
Isn't that true?
And it's such a great way of getting rid of anxiety. And something else, like you said, about taking breaks throughout the work day, our brains have rhythms. They have rhythms for sleeping, like sleep cycles, and they have waking rhythms. And that's something about, our American culture. Like Aaron said, we'll work through a break, or we'll try to just like keep sitting at that desk and staring at that computer and trying to keep everything done. But the minute you feel your mind wandering, so for some people that's, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, others can go about 60 minutes, but usually the brain's waking cycle doesn't go longer than 60 minutes before it needs to reset. Mm-hmm. And that's when people start getting up and going to the coffee pot. They start, becoming distracted. But really, that's just a signal that the brain needs to reset. Mm-hmm. And so you can do that. You can do that by just pausing and taking some deep breaths. You can do that by, getting up and just taking a quick walk. Because then when you set back down, you're going to have more focused attention on any task and trying to push through it.
Yeah, you just need to break the monotony.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that, I don't know if the data's out there, you would know, Doug, that a lot of the accidents that probably happen, especially in manufacturing and those type of environments, it's such monotonous work and you're just doing it repetitively. And then, like Katrina said, your mind starts to wander, and all of a sudden your hand hits the blade, right? Because you stop thinking about it. You're just kind of doing it over and over. And, breaking the monotony, I think, is very important from a safety perspective, just because it resets the mind. It resets my focus. It's, we've all been there. We've all driven home sometimes and don't remember the drive. We just went on autopilot. So how many times in these manufacturing environments
or
these
save energy, probably,
that's exactly what it is. That's 100%
so how many times on these construction sites, these roads crews, jobs that these people have done for years over and over, they're doing it without even thinking about it anymore, and that's when the accident happens.
Yes, it does.
Because you're just not. It's not that you're not paying attention. You're just in that mode of.
Yeah,
I'm going. Right. I'm a machine.
You're in a habit loop of some sort.
I'm in a habit loop, and my mind's really thinking about something else while I'm putting wood into this chipper, and all of a sudden I reach in too far.
Oh, no doubt. And it's interesting because I think we've come to realize over the last few years, in particular, when we've been talking about this work from home phenomenon, there are two camps. There are two workplaces. There's the administrative, sit on your ass in front of a computer work world, and then there's the go to the factory, go to the construction site world. And we give a lot of attention to these sit on your ass and type in programming world. These people can work from home, they were more efficient at home, blah blah blah, all the bullshit we've talked about. Right. But and probably all of these take a break every 60 minutes. Their computer probably tells them take a break or get up and stretch. Or we used to have that in the government where our computers would actually shut down and we had to go take a break. Like I was right in the middle of a deadline or something,
Right.
But we don't do that for these guys. The guys that are in the plant or on the construction site, we don't. The guy that powers through lunch is a hero,
Oh, he's rewarded.
It's rewarded.
That's on the foreman and the managers to do that.
It is.
I used to, when I would work overnights at a company in town here, I would tell people I could get up and walk around. I don't want to. I could get up and walk around. Or I'd say, go to the gym. I don't want to go off the clock. I'm like, I'll pay you to go. Because I understood that, on a 12-hour shift, after about 4 hours into it, you're pretty much brain dead if you don't get up and walk around and do something to reset yourself. Yeah. And to me, that's not the employee's fault, because they'll sit there and work, right, out of whether it's call to duty or they just want to get the day to go by or they just want to log the hours. It's on the supervisors to make them get up and move around. It's on the supervisors. All right, everybody take a break. We're taking 5. Everybody run around the building or do whatever. Let's play ping pong. I don't know, whatever the hell.
Get together and do some deep breathing.
Whatever happens. Or let's huddle. Let's have a huddle. Let's have let's schedule a couple of midday huddles and do them at random, and then let's talk about something and then go back to work just to reset everything and break that monotony. But I mean, the employees won't do that on their own. They might do it subconsciously just, I got to go to the bathroom, right? That's their way of breaking the monotony, whatever it happens to be. But unless you make them do it, and then obviously it's something positive or a positive activity or sometimes you can make it some kind of team building thing if you want, but everybody just go outside for a little bit. It's a nice day out. Let's go outside. Let's all go have lunch outside together, type of thing. They won't do it on their own. So that's a management problem in my mind.
That's
you got to make that. And it becomes part of the culture at that point. That's part of the reason why you see like a lot of companies with the open environment, right? Because it encourages people to get up and move around, and in theory, and collaborate more, and they're not just sitting at their desk, and they're more interactive. But there's also argument that that's why no work's getting done at the same time. But I mean, it's a give and take. But I think in the environments that you're in, that's very industrial, very manufacturing, very put your head down and work. We got to make so many widgets a day, or we got to get this stuff out. It's too easy just to let people get into their own zone and just let them work all day long, and then not even checking in on them.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think, and dangerously so. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that's usually when the accidents will happen.
Yeah. Interesting. And that may not necessarily be at any given time of day. We are looking intently for these trends, what we believe is trend analysis. When did the accident take place? It doesn't necessarily coincide with a time that your mind is distracted or that you were in that loss of focus necessarily. It's not always going to happen at 3:00 in the afternoon based on what you've done the day before, or what stresses you've brought into the work environment. It could happen early. So maybe we're looking in the wrong places.
Well, to your point, though, I mean, data and metrics are what they are. If you do see trends, if there's like in a particular industry, if there's a nationwide trend that 90% of the accidents happen at 2:30 in the afternoon. Well, why is that? Well, people come back for lunch. They got the food coma. They're looking forward to get home at the end of the day, so they're really not paying attention in those last couple hours. Hey, if you know that, schedule a break right around that time.
Yeah, or do that activity
or a half hour before, and then break up the monotony, reset everybody's brain, so now they're dialed back in for those last couple hours of the day for that final push when the accidents tend to happen. So that is good data to have. Like, okay, if I know this, that's a great time to schedule these breaks.
Right.
That's a great time to refocus everybody, dial everybody in. And where's the next most common, or what time of the year maybe even. If it's a particular time of the year, let's do some things at that time of year to keep everybody's mind in the game.
So I have this vision of the two of you putting together a program that we can take to my clients. I'll take 25%. And
we'll negotiate that.
33? Is that
like, what
I
don't know. Yeah.
Cam can be part of it as well. But I love that, this mind-body connection piece that you guys are.
Let's not get too Confucian on it, right?
Right. My son
get too soft on him over here.
In hand
yeah, exactly. But truly,
staging the workplace might be a good idea.
You could give employees a lot of tools to maintain focus, to maybe not alleviate but control stress, physical well-being, all of these things that are going to make them higher performers, which I want as an employer, safer employees, which I want as a consultant. An employer.
I'm going to push back a little bit on you.
Okay.
You said give employees tools. It's really the management and leadership that we're giving them the tools to, and they need to employ it and make it part of the fabric of the culture. Because, like I said, employees won't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, what's the motivation? Oh, great! I know how to meditate. Can I get back to work now? You know how it is.
You're
That's true.
The framework can. Hey, I got a deadline.
If I push through lunch, I get to leave 30 minutes early.
Exactly. I got to get this house built. Can I get back to work now? I'll meditate on the weekend.
You're right.
Right. Absolutely.
It's on that foreman, that job site foreman, to make everybody take the break. Let's all get together. Let's dial it back in to employ those tools. And make them work for the employees, because if left to their own accord, and they're not doing it spitefully like they don't want to do it, they just have other priorities. It's not going to be high on their list.
That's a great point.
I got work to do. You're paying me by the hour, and I want to log as many hours as I can because I got 6 kids at home or whatever it happens to be, which is something we should be aware of.
It's true. And if you can really get to what people's pains and sufferings are, like if you can really start to investigate. Because if you can solve a pain or suffering from someone, that really motivates them. That really, help. So, collectively in like manufacturing companies, if you kind of have your pulse on, what are most of our employees, what are some of their biggest emotional pain and sufferings, even physical pain and sufferings, and then coming up with tools that help alleviate that is a big game changer in people's lives, and it motivates them to change too.
That's huge, because when you have the 20-something in there working, that person's working for a different reason than the 40-year-old with 5 kids, or the 60-year-old that's coming back to work because the 401k took a dump on them and they're scared for their retirement.
That cuts a little close to home.
You know what I mean? Though, but like, those people are motivated by very different things.
Absolutely.
And to think I could manage them, or they need the same tools to succeed, is crazy. Like that 21-year-old, that's a workhorse. You could pretty much do whatever you want to that person. They're going to keep working because they're motivated by different things. Whereas they're not bringing in near the stresses, or probably different stresses. They're worried about the girl that shot him down, or the guy that shot him down the weekend before. Whereas the father of 4 is like, I got to pay for daycare. How am I going to do this? And then the older person's like, okay, I got retirement to think about, and I don't have enough saved up.
Right.
Like those are different things coming in with them, and different reasons why they're there, and different ways I need to manage them, and different coping mechanisms they're going to need to be successful.
What do you need from a program? If I'm going to ask you to come in and consult with some of my clients about developing approaches the employer can take to, positive mindset, or helping their employees. What does that look like? Can we do this? Because I'm actually interested in this.
I have some great kind of worksheets that just start doing that discovery of how do we think our employees, how are they thinking, what are they feeling, what do we think some of their biggest struggles are, or their pains are, and you just start to identify. I know, like Aaron said, you're going to have different ages and but you can start to see some commonalities. Maybe they work so much. I mean, maybe they're kind of lonely. They're not getting quality time with friends or family. But you can start to identify, like, majority-wise, this is what we feel like their emotional or their physical pains and sufferings are. And then once you do that, then you have a clear kind of path to then creating those tools that would alleviate that.
Okay.
Because what motivates people, besides their beliefs, is also if you can alleviate their largest pains and sufferings, or help with that. So think of if you and your wife had to switch and stay home with the kids because you couldn't afford daycare, and think about how that would affect job performance. And not that every company can come in and just start opening daycares, but you can start to address some of those greatest pains and sufferings. You probably would see a work culture change, because people, when they feel cared about and cared for, will obviously do more work and better work than if they feel like they're just another piece of equipment, or they're, disposable and easily replaced, which in a lot of, the larger companies, you can just feel like a number.
That's why I quit the government.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
quite
for the government, we understand
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
all too well.
And you know how difficult, too, it is to change culture, too, within those large companies. But that, gets driven down from the top, like you mentioned. But we might have to discuss this further. I love ideas, and
I think so too. And this is a piece, again, the leadership piece was such a big piece, because from where I come from, teaching people how to work safely and teaching them about regulatory compliance and those issues, that's the easy piece. It's rarely effective, but it's a pretty easy piece. And then we started layering in this leadership piece, and these supervisors and just leaders in these organizations, and that was something that we've neglected to some degree as safety professionals. So what Aaron has contributed has been incredibly useful. And now this piece that you're layering in with this mindset piece, this anxiety stress piece that we've practically ignored in large part, with maybe just a few exceptions. Some companies maybe are that insightful or that forward thinking.
Well, there are some companies do that. The stretch and, what do you call it? The
stretch and flex type stuff. You're actually maybe warming your body up prior to a work day, but you can do your mind as well, man.
I mean, just that exercise is dialing your mind.
A little bit of focus and awareness, but getting that mindset right. But I think there's this is another piece that's really an opportunity for a lot of companies. We talked about the construction folks and the manufacturing folks that don't have the luxury of working at Google or,
the
Facebook or any of those secret places.
Which are probably going to get shut down now that we mentioned all those. As soon as this podcast goes out, they're going to wipe it.
Well, we are on our hour. We've actually exceeded our hour, which is incredible. This has been fascinating.
Thank you for having me.
So, how do people get a hold of you?
A Better You.
Did you want Aaron to give the website?
No, I don't. Okay, I think I'll give my website out.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, Katrina Bishop. It's abetteryou.me, and it's the letter U. So they can abetteryou.me. Yep.
Okay.
They can go to the website. They can get more information. Why are you grinning? If you consultation, they're like mini sessions. So I meet with someone for the first time, complimentary, so that they can get to know more about my process and I can get to know more about them. But they can go to abetteryou.me.
But my clients, you would do some consulting with them, perhaps?
Oh yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
I think when you develop people, it pays off far more than educating. Like when you develop them from within.
Well, if we could address the leadership piece and this employee wellness mindset piece, we would be light years ahead of the piece that I offer.
Start hypnetizing culture into companies. Could that be a real thing?
After we wrap this up, we're going to hypnotize Aaron, and I'll let everybody know next week how it goes.
Yeah. On the table.
Very good. Well, thank you guys. I hope you have a good weekend. This is fascinating stuff. I love this brain stuff. It's really interesting to me. Having 50 to 70 thoughts a day or a month.
50 to 70,000 thoughts.
Oh, okay. That's not me. Very good. Well, keep up the good work. Focus on your employees. What we do is important, and give them the best you have. So enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.